Okay. We're live right now, I guess. Hey, this has been a chore. This has been a chore.
First time. First time.
First time. We're gonna get it better. We're gonna get it better. I would have went into our welcome type you dig for the juke joint, but I mean we need to get this done, and I've been holding out, and let me see if I can send out some invites via my phone for our recording here, because I know the scumbags are like sitting there. They're like, "Yo, where's the you dig?" You know what I mean? So.
Oh yeah, we got to get them in.
Yeah, and I'm gonna share it now. That's crazy. That's crazy. Let's see how to do this. Why is it like another there we go. And then I'm gonna put this in the dig.
Braggs says, put more keywords in your headline and description for your YouTube page.
Okay.
The algorithm sends it along easier.
Oh, so put it in there, and then it'll send it.
Yeah, that's what he says.
Say that one more time. Tell Greg.
Put more keywords in your headline and the description for your YouTube page.
Okay.
The algorithm sends it along, makes it easier. That way people can find your material.
So. Okay. Yeah, well, tell Greg, thank you. Yeah, we're just because we was having such an issue. The other page, our other page is set up like with extra stuff on it, but we was having the issue with the whole you dig with the, I've been paying for this stupid thing. So, where do I go do that now? But either way, let's just get it. Oh, I see where to do it. Hold up. This is fun. This is funny though, man. I don't even know. I'm gonna have to have a class. I'm gonna have to have a class on how to
Yeah, we'll have to get Braggs or Gonzo in here.
Yeah, we'll have to have somebody with some more experience with this. But still, we got somebody watching for sure. But it's all good. Bragg said that in the
He sent me a private message or private DM or whatever.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, let's just see how this goes. Okay. It says live viewer. Oh, okay. Anywho, let's just get it started, man. This is the juke joint.
That's right.
The juke joint, and we're trying to figure this whole YouTube thing out, and we wanted to try to do something new, and it's cool. We're gonna figure this thing out, man, and we go there.
Yeah, he says use the hashtags MLB White Sox. Be like a little more specific on our tags. But
okay, I see it. Thanks, Greg. I see it, Braggs. I see it, Greg. I appreciate you, bro. Yeah, I see it. I appreciate you. But he said like click on it. You see what he said? Oh man, this is crazy. But you know what? First time, I got the jitters. I just want to talk some baseball, and then we're gonna figure this thing the hell out. The next recording on YouTube will be better than this one after I have a class or two. But here we are, winter meetings. And watch this. I think I figured this out. Look, gotta teach these old dogs new tricks. Greg says, "Yeah, two old guys."
I got it. Yeah, I can read over there. Got it. Yeah. Thanks, Greg. Thanks, Greg.
Yeah. So here we are, the White Sox winter meetings. Greg, Eric, Greg got me fucked up. Eric, how you feeling, man? How you feeling going into this? We just saw some things happening. What's up?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty exciting, right? First really full day of the winter meeting started yesterday, but we've already seen Verlander and Turner already pop today, or whatever. So it's pretty crazy. But baseball needs to get the free agency rush that like football and NBA, NFL and NBA get. So maybe the winter meetings, now that they're back in person, can get some of this life going. So no, I'm excited. Of course I'm excited. It's one of my favorite times of the year, right? New start, new season, new deal.
Yeah, well, one thing that we was talking about, one thing that we was discussing was, we got a new regime in the house, right?
Yeah.
And I always get his name wrong, but the new skipper has been making a lot of comments about the culture change, and there were some things that happened with the additions on his staff that you like. What were some of those things?
Yeah, I mean that's kind of where we're at, right? Grifol, it's added. We almost got in the way, got two head coaches with Montoya joining the bench, like we talked about on our previous podcast. So like I'm excited about that. I'm excited about the things that we've heard. It was refreshing. About some of the way we're gonna game plan around things, some of the stuff that we're gonna be doing, from a learning point. So, that's where we're at. It's a new regime, new deal, new way of playing. He sounds like a high energy guy, obviously analytically driven. So, like, I'm excited. I'm excited to see what kind of moves and stuff the front office is going to make in here.
What was the biggest addition to the staff? Was it Johnson coming up from?
Yeah,
was which one is like got you the most excited?
I like the idea of having the two head coaches. I like the Montoya on the bench. Coming from the Tampa Rays organization, being a head coach himself. Let's face it, there's a lot of things wrong with the White Sox. Like they didn't play good fundamental baseball. They didn't run bases well. They don't hit cutoff men well. In fact, you can just go ahead and name it. They don't situationally hit well. They don't pregame plan well. Like, that's a lot to ask a first-time skipper to go in. The culture's no good. They don't hustle right. They don't cover bags when people throw balls at them. There's a lot of stuff that you can go through the White Sox don't do well. So to ask one new coach to fix all that, first-time head coach, I think was a lot. So I'm excited to have two coaches on there and be able to split up some of those tasks of playing better baseball.
Somebody just said it. The White Sox were bad. Just, just in general, they were just a bad team. All the things that you just said gave us the indication that we were watching a team that just was not living up to the potential that they had. I.e., let's just say what's the number one thing that you always tell me since we've known each other about a baseball team in order to win?
You have to slug.
You got to slug.
You have to.
Yeah.
Have to.
We had a staff that was really, putting some good innings together, some good quality starts. We got a crazy year from some old guys, saying?
Yep.
Lynn and I can't even think of his name right now. What's the other old guy?
Cueto. Yep.
Yeah.
You couldn't have asked for much more, out of the starting pitching. Having Cease blow up the way he did, Cueto coming in, Lynn second half, like there was enough there, for sure. But offensively, I don't know who you can say had a plus projection year. It'd be tough. It'd be tough to say, hey, this player overachieved or this player had a great season. I would say if I had to pick, I would say from an offensive standpoint, Vaughn was probably about right in line for what I would expect is, roughly his first time, 1.5 times through the league. But other than that, everybody else was pretty much down.
Yeah, and I think that we saw a second place. Well, I guess you can't win a Cy Young in second place, right? But we are lucky to see Dylan Cease coming to his own last year. That was one that wasn't. It was on the radar, but we didn't know he was going to do what he did. And you have attributed that to the fact that he's perfected one of the nastiest pitches in baseball.
Yeah, I mean, like I can't think of his last name. I want to say it's Harris, but it might be Harris. But he wrote a great article right around Memorial Day, like about how he changed his grip on his slider.
Mm-hmm.
Cease did, and man, after that might have been the most dominant pitch for one season that starters had. I think he ended up negative 34, negative 36 run value on Savant, or whatever. Like that's insane for one pitch. I mean, that's absolutely crazy.
Well, we had the young man that started off in the bullpen. He came in and had some quality stars, Michael Kopech. How you feeling about him going into next year?
Yeah. I mean, I don't think you're never going to say he's going to make a jump like Cease made, but I could definitely see going forward. I'm excited about the starting pitching. I think Cease will be better. I mean, Cease will be what he was. I mean, obviously you assume he'll go backwards a little bit. You don't ever predict that somebody's going to be, number 2 in the Cy Young Award conversation again. But I mean, I think he'll be obviously the top of the rotation. I think Lynn is just a pitcher, man. He's a pitcher. He's always going to be a pitcher. I ain't worried about Lynn. I think Kopech can go forward. I like Clevenger's deal that the White Sox made. Didn't turn out the best, but he had I think he'll bounce back as well. I mean, he's pitching. One thing you got to remember this year is he's pitching for a free agent deal. So that's a huge thing. Huge motivation.
Yeah, you see, I just had Elise is here, and she's on my butt about my lighting. So I had a light right here the whole time. It didn't cut it on. I thought it was on my lighting, so I had to fix it. Since we're on YouTube now, and we gotta, it's all first time. So we're gonna figure this out. So Eric, let's just get right into it. Winter meetings. In my mind, I've always thought like the winter meetings were like this magical place where all these people that make all the decisions, they go play some golf. There's Arnold Palmer's with a little bit of a twist to it going around. There's some dealings going on under the table and everything like that. I mean, is it that, Eric? Is it that?
It's some of that. I mean, there's no doubt some of that. Whatever they do, I'm sure they get some work done. But any conference of any deal, how all the conferences go. There's always playtime. So what do you? Yeah. So I mean, like, it started yesterday. Offseason obviously started a few weeks ago. White Sox came in with some needs, right? So starting pitching was a need, got addressed. Clevenger from the Padres used to be with the Indians, signed a 1-year deal for 12. It's not exactly how it works out. It's $8 million this year with a $4 million mutual option, but they just do that to hide money. The mutual option is never going to get picked up or agreed on. So basically, he got a 1-year, $12 million deal, but he gets 8 this year, and he'll get 4 at the end of the year when they both decline the option, and that's how that deal is going to work. So, now we're down to going to need 2 outfielders and a second base. Is where we're at. Pitching should be set. We had the 5 starters and 8 in the bullpen. So I can't see any needs there. We even have backups with Davis Martin, who played a pretty big role last year at some time being a swing man. So I'm glad to see him stay in that spot. You're going to have Lambert. I've read some rumblings that he might go back to being a starter. We'll see what they do. Maybe they keep him in the pen, or whatever. But then you have Stever, who's back. And then in the bullpen, you'll have Banks and Foster and Ben Souza, who will be kind of like your next guys that can come up from Charlotte to fill in when some people get hurt. But the pitching should be set. So where does that leave now? 3 big needs. You need 2 outfielders and a second base. Like that's where the focus is going to have to turn to.
Well, we had one big domino fall today, right? You said it earlier.
Turner?
Yes.
Yeah, Turner and of course Verlander went, right? I mean,
well, I was saying, with the positions.
Yeah. I mean, that's going to be obviously outside of what the White Sox are looking at. Current payroll right now, arbitration, everything in. We're looking at 167,884. Call it 168 million. The quote from Han was the payroll will be the same. So we got about 27 to $30 million probably to work with. But they're going to be active in the trade market, and it sounds like catcher also possibly would be a pickup to strengthen that deal. Somebody to help maybe take some of the pressure off of Yaz. And I don't know what's going to end up happening with Sebi, but in that scenario, but it sounds like they've been active in the catching market as well. So I'm interested to see how it goes.
Right. So we got the needs right there, but a need that has been filled because he was playing out of position. Gonzo brought it up earlier, is that we had a first baseman playing outfield. Now he's in his actual position, and we're talking about Andrew Vaughn. So what do you think of the infield is going to look like?
Yeah, so obviously right now 3 spots are nailed down with Vaughn playing first, TA playing short, and Makata playing third. So they're going to have to fill second. Now keep in mind of the shift rule change this year, right? So no more shifting. So now all of a sudden second base becomes a little bit more of a defensive position. Names that we've heard them, possibly connected to would be, of course, the guy from Philly, Segura. We've heard, Torres is available from the Yankees. I think he's a possibility for sure. Mm-hmm. Another guy that's going to be possibly, maybe Brandon Lowe might be available, from Tampa Bay. So the thing about the White Sox, you got to think about when you understand, and if you understand the front office stuff, and if you look at their history and their past, you can give up on the 1-year deals. It's just not a thing. It's not a thing. So it's never been a part of the White Sox deal. It's never been part of the thing. It's going to be who's available for maybe 1 year with a 1-year option, or who's maybe available for a couple years of control. I mean, they're going to look to expand. I know people aren't going to want to hear that this year isn't an all-in scenario, but it's not an all-in scenario. There's a lot of players that are under contract control for a lot of years. So they're going to want to figure out. Some people do. Now, I will say one possible exception, could be an outfielder I can see on a 1-year deal. But the guys you're going to hear everybody else talk about, Gallo, Bellinger, Brantley, you can throw all them away. None of them. Now, Brantley, you can throw all them away. They're just not going to want to come here to play here. It's a double bad scenario. Any of these players playing on a 1-year deal in order to prove themselves are going to go somewhere where they can be promised at bats and promised to play. They're going to want a minimum number of at bats. They're going to want 450, 500 at bats. A contending team can't promise you that. If Joey Gallo comes in here and has that same hole in the bat that he's had the last 2 years and is hitting a 107,
we get
White
nothing.
Sox are trying to play to win a pennant. They can't promise him them at bats. So he's going to go somewhere that's on a fringe team, or somewhere where he can get promised the at bats, and then that team will look to probably flip him at the deadline. That's usually how these 1-year deals, prove-it deals work. So when you're looking for Gallo, looking for Bellinger, more than likely they end up in a spot like Colorado or the Cubs or something along those lines where they're on the fringe, outside looking. If they have a great year and they blow up, maybe they make a run. If they don't, they flip them at the deadline for assets because they're looking somewhere they can be guaranteed I'm going to get to play all year long because I got to prove myself. I want to go back into free agency. That's the idea.
Yeah, I got a question, though, and it's coming from Gonzo. Gonzo is saying basically Clevenger came here on a 1-year deal. Why is that ideal for a pitcher of Clevenger's guild rather than an outfielder?
Yeah. Pitching is a little different than your position players. 1-year deals are okay. They're common, right? 1 year's with 1-year option. Now, like I said, the mutual option, when you're trying to fill gaps and trying to fill stuff or whatever, pitching's a whole separate animal than it is from a player position. So he's here on a 1-year deal, similar. Mm-hmm. He's trying to prove it. He's trying to go back out in free agency, or whatever the deal. But teams will take flyers, especially contending teams, on these 1-year pitcher deals because they're hoping that he does have a huge year. They're hoping that, that he does blow up. And also, too, if something goes bad for the White Sox, or if, let's just say, Gio's great, another 4 are great, and, Martin's killing it or something or whatever, he's somebody the White Sox could look to flip, too, at the trade deadline because he would have value. Anybody – starting pitchers are always going to hold their value over on this kind of scenario. So pitching is a little different than position players. But if you look at pretty much every contract the White Sox have signed for position player, Adam Eaton, Josh Harrison, everybody's got the 1 years with the 1 year's options. And none of those guys like Bellinger, Gallo, none of those guys are signing club options. They're not signing player options. They're coming for 1 year, prove it. You got to get me 500 at bats.
So
Like,
what possible? So what possible internal extensions could be on the horizon? Because we already locked up TA. He's in. He's already done. So,
Yeah, we picked up his deal. Like, yeah, so we can go. Yeah, we probably should have hit that.
No, let's hit it now.
All right, possible internal extensions. I see 4.
4. Okay.
Your man, Raylo.
Yeah. Thank you.
I mean, he has to get an extension. We understand what the White Sox obviously max value on the bullpen, which everybody's going to say it's probably too much, but they also, I'll give you a little fun deal. Out of the top 8 people that spent it on the bullpen last year, every one of them made the playoffs except for the White Sox. So spinning the bullpen seems to work for everybody else. So hopefully it can work for the White Sox this year.
Right.
But so I think Raylo, being the last year of his contract, going into arbitration, I could definitely see if they wouldn't want to like add 2 or 3 years to it and see if they could lock him up. I think he's the most likely. Second most likely, and you already said his name, I think is Tim Anderson. I think, with the rule change at second base, you're no longer worried about having an aging shortstop. It's something that he could pitch possibly a few years down the road, swing over to second base. He's owed $26.5 million for this year and next year.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, what you could do possibly here is rip up them options,
right?
Sign him to a 5-year, $150 million deal. It only costs the White Sox 5 years, $125.5 or $123.5. So now, he's making an AAV of $24.7 million, or whatever for the next 5 years.
What's an AAV for our listeners, just so we know?
Your annual salary, basically.
Okay.
Whatever. Like, so you just saw Trey Turner take like $27 million for 11. So, like, I feel like TA's market would be right in there for a shorter deal. It would be a similar AAV, or somewhere right in there. So, like, that's how, just because of what he's owed and what he means to the team. And like I said, the possibility of swinging him to second later in his career, that's something I could see getting done. Third, less likely because I think he's still a little young, but I could see Andrew Vaughn getting extended if he'd be interested in something. I mean, these early extensions, and I know White Sox fans frown upon it, but it's how you do business in baseball. If you don't believe me, go look at Executive of the Year for the Atlanta Braves. Go look at all the talent they have locked up for years. Like, this is how you do it. You try to lock them up early. The fourth choice that I had down would be Michael Kopech. If they wanted to possibly, even though the White Sox historically don't invest in pitchers and don't do anything longer, but I thought maybe Kopech off of so-so, probably first time around performance or whatever might be
a starter.
Yeah. And and I know I'm sure somebody's sitting there going, well, what about Cease? What about Cease? You can't look at Cease. Like, you just can't because of 2 reasons. One, he just got second in the Cy Young Award, so there's no value in extending him. You're going to be paying top dollar. Mm-hmm. And 2, Boris is his representative. He ain't no chance we're going to get any kind of value in extending him. So, like, those are the 4 I kind of had down or whatever from the possibility. Now, as far as back to needs a little bit where we were going, I don't see him going left field either. So that's why I like the Beneteri, the Brantleys. You can just rip them up. Brantley is pretty much a DH anymore anyway. So you probably won't see him. You're going to have, I know people don't want to hear, but Elo is going to play left field some. Mm-hmm. He's going to be out there. They ain't going to just take him and make him DH the whole entire time. So I think you have to look right field, and I think you got to look. They've already said they want to get more athletic. You're going to have to look guys with good plate discipline. Grafal's already mentioned that. So, now we're talking about your weighted on-base average.
Yep.
Guys with high
OPS plus.
Yeah. That's what they're going to be looking. That's what they're going to try to get done. So we'll see what happens.
Justin is saying that he would need to see a 900 OPS in order for Vaughn to get paid.
Well, you got to pay him before, because if you wait too long, Justin, you're going to go broke. So it'd be like trying to extend Cease now. Try to extend him and hope he hits a 900 OPS.
So the other question I had was, let's look at external extensions. I mean, not external extensions, but the trades. Some of the trades that we could be looking at, possible targets, and what those trades would look like.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, there's going to be so much that we don't know. Like, we don't know how Yaz's knees are, right? But hearing today, like, that the White Sox, from a few of the scoop guys, and some trust, some crazy, but hearing that the White Sox have been in contact with Toronto about their catching trio because they have a surplus up there, kind of tells you maybe the White Sox aren't fully confident in Guandal taking a big workload behind the plate. So that's one for sure. I could see Jansen. I know people are going to talk about Murphy. And I know the White Sox have been hooked to him. I can't see him giving up that much. I mean, you're looking at, I think it's Colas.
Where's Murphy coming from?
From the Oakland A's.
Oakland A's, that's okay.
I think on our buddy John's site, from Baseball Trade Values, a friend of the program, John. Hi, John. I think he basically would cost you Montgomery plus Colas for 3 years of Murphy, and I just don't see the White Sox burning that many assets for a catcher. But I suppose it is possible. Second base, I think they're going to look to fill probably via trade. Like I said, I think Brandon Lowe would be my gold if I had to pick. Torres probably my second, and probably just go sign Segura would be like my bronze, I think, for that deal. The White Sox,
Segura would come in on a free agent contract.
He'd be a free agent deal, but he's somewhere there. You could get what we talked about earlier. I'm guessing you could get him done with a 1 year club option type thing, being later on in his career. The White Sox have been hooked to Kepler from Minnesota for a possible outfield.
That right there. That signing or that trade, would it be a trade for Kepler? It would be a trade, right?
It'd be a trade. Interdivision trade, which is tricky at times.
Right.
Very, very tricky.
But I like Kepler. I really do. He's always been just a solid defender, solid at the plate. He can slug, and then that'll shut up all the left-handed outfielder hitting people for a good while too.
That's.
I know. Well, let them know.
Yeah, the righty-lefty thing is dead. Like, people don't care. They don't care. Now, don't get me wrong. They might sign a left-handed deal. But the idea that you need right-handed pitching and left-handed pitching, you need right-handed hitting and left-handed pitching, nobody cares anymore. And if you think they care, the White Sox just signed a fifth right-handed starter when there was plenty of left-handed starters available. They signed a right-handed starter. So nobody cares anymore. Like, the game has gone away from that. They don't care about any of that stuff. They're looking for somebody that can hit the ball hard, high WOBA, high OPS plus, high WRC plus. That's what they want. They don't care if they're right-handed, left-handed, or they don't care if he's hitting from his head. If he can do those three things, it don't matter to them.
Speaking of the right-handed pitching, where does Clevenger fall into the rotation next year, in your opinion?
Man, that's a good question. If I had to guess right now what the Sox would do, I would say Cease is the opener, Lynn goes 2, out of respect, Gio goes 3, Kopech 4, Clevenger 5. If I had to.
Wow.
Now
that's the question for the comment section. Hey, comment what you think the rotation is going to look like.
Yeah. And it's different too. And Ray, like, the one thing we're trying to do here, and the reason why you and I got together, is not so much what's my opinion on things or whatever, some opinion stuff, but what do we think the team is going to do? Not do I want them to do, I want them to go sign Aaron Judge and Trey Turner. That's what I want them to do.
That's what you want.
That's not realistic. Not realistic.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen. So, like, how do I think it's going to play out? Years of and having friends in the front offices, from past front offices, years of studying the front office. How do I think things are going to work? How do I think players are going to move? What's their value? Like, I could care less about people like Yohan Makata. Like, you have the worst value on our team. Like, can the White Sox find somebody to eat his money? Like, he's owed $48 million over the next 2 years. Can the White Sox find anybody that believes that 2019 is possibly still in Yohan? Like, that would be ideal. So, like, it's all about value. It's all about pieces. It's all about trades. It's all about how stuff could work, not work. Like, if you're talking about trading with the Oakland Athletics, who was it? The Pirates. Somebody had up a post the other day and had Andrew Vaughn on there and had Montgomery on there for Reynolds trade, right? The Pirates aren't going to be interested in an already ticking contract in Andrew Vaughn. They're just not. They're going to want young kids. If you're trading with Oakland could care less about Andrew Vaughn. They don't care. They're going to want kids that still have the 6 years of controllable assets yet. They're going to want Montgomery. They're going to want Colas. They're going to want Ramos. They're going to want Rodriguez. They're going to want guys that have space. So if you're asking me how I think the rotation goes, I believe it goes Cease, Lynn, Gio, Kopech, Clevenger. I think that's your first week rotation.
Wow. Oh, hey, that's pretty. I didn't see that. I didn't see that coming. I thought you would have plugged Lynn 2, Clevenger 3, Kopech 4, Gio 5. But that was where I.
Hey, it can. I mean, it can. It can. Yeah. I think I can't imagine. I think they're going to throw Gio in the 3 hole. I think 1, 2 is obvious. I think it's Cease, Lynn. I think that's pretty much a sure thing. As long as they're healthy, obviously. But I think they'll put Gio in a 3 out of respect. How can
when you're managing this business of baseball that is the White Sox, and we're looking at the cap space, and we're looking at how you take a player's value versus what we got in the farm, and then you we're always talking about the money, we're always talking about control, player control, and we're always talking about player value versus salary, right? And I just let's just take 2 players in a contrast, right? We were just talking about Yohan Moncada. He has the worst value on the team. Why? Yep. And then why is it that Montgomery, Costa Montgomery has a high value, but he is in the AA?
Sure. So
let's break that down.
Yeah, and if you guys anybody listening and wants to go back and listen to our previous show when we had John on from Baseball Trade Values, the editor and founder of the site or whatever, this is what they do all day, right? Front offices have computers, they have systems, they have algorithms they put together, and they put in expected stats versus what they think you're going to do versus how much money you're owed. Right. This gives you a contract value. So obviously Yohan Moncada, I think it was a 0.9 WAR season, owed $48 million. That's not a good situation, right?
0.9 WAR.
I mean, you're talking about he's going to make over the next 2 years, if you average out, he's going to make more than 10% of the tire payroll. That's something the White Sox will for sure be kicking the tires on, trying to see if they can get out from underneath that contract. Now, it's tricky to get out because it's negative value, but they'll be trying to see if there's a way to get out. And Montgomery, the reason why he holds value, obviously, he's moved up in the top 100 rankings. He's a shortstop, left-handed hitting, and he's got full 6 years of control left. So that's why he's our number 1 prospect, and that's why his value is worth a lot, or whatever off the deal, right? Dylan Cease has actually got the most value on our team because we have 3 more controllable years of Dylan Cease, who just got second in the American League Cy Young. And we got him for cheap. I mean, he's going to get $5 million. Then he's going to get $8 million. And he's going to get $11, $12 million. When you're talking about starting pitching, you see what these guys are getting paid. Verlander, who just beat him, just got $43 million.
Oof.
43. He got first. We're going to have Cease for the next 3 years for 5, 15, even give him 15. We'll have him for 3 years for 30.
Right.
And Verlander is getting 1 for 43. Right. So there's a ton of value in Cease right now. That's why he got the most value on our team.
So
I keep checking Twitter. I don't want to break a false accusation or anything, but there's been some rumors of White Sox signed somebody.
No. Let's not do that. We don't want to. We don't want to break news.
Yeah. I didn't see anything. The White Sox have traded David Montgomery. No, I'm just kidding. Go ahead. I was just looking. I think Isaac Ian Jr. earlier tweeted something out that said the White Sox fans will be happy. So we just don't
wait to see what that is.
Yeah, we're waiting to see what that is.
Yeah. So I need to be educated a little bit more. I know that you always tell me that the clock, you don't want to start the clock on a player like Oscar Colas.
Right.
or even better, a player like Kosa Montgomery, you know,
Right.
and you could take that and put that into the context with somebody like Jimmy Lambert or Davis Martin, how their clock started when they started to come up. So just break that the clock on as far as contract is concerned, or
sure. So anytime a
control.
player is added to the 40-man roster, which right now Colas and Montgomery are not on, the second you're added to the 40-man roster, the club has 6 years of control to use you from that point forward. So let's take Colas because it's going to be a hot topic, right? If he's still on the White Sox come opening day, like they're not going to want to start his clock now because the 6 years begins. He's only had 7 minor league games at AAA. He only played 7 in professional Japan baseball. He needs 400 or 500 at bats. And not only that, the White Sox have no depth. So what if he comes up and they decide to start his clock, and like a lot of rookies do, struggle? I mean, look at Luis Robert, look at Andrew Vaughn, look at any of these players their first year through the deal, struggles, and we got to send him down for who? Like the Sox don't have any depth there. So like he's got to become that minor league depth piece. But, or whatever. So you're going to look for 2 outfielders to be added. I would love Mitch Haniger. That's a guy that I've wanted since day one. I think he makes a lot of sense in right field. Positive OOA guy, outs against averages, which the White Sox were very bad in right field last year. Put him in a smaller I always want to say U.S. Cellular. Put him in a smaller guarantee.
Right, in the rate, yeah.
Right, put him in a smaller rate field versus Seattle for 2 reasons. 1, helps his outfield, helps his legs. And 2, like he could hit 35, 40 home runs pretty easy, which we have to slug, right? You got to slug. Can't win. Don't slug.
What would it take to get Haniger?
So everybody knows there's 3 things. There's 3 sites I pretty much look at. There's Spot Rack and there's Baseball Savant, and there's a trade value simulator. So Spot Rack's got him at 4 years, 60. I've heard 3 years, 45, somewhere around that type deal or whatever. White Sox having 25, 30 million left right now on a deal. There is some room there. Now it does squeeze out probably second base and an additional outfielder, but he would be, if it was me, like he would be the number 1 guy that I'd be looking for. I mean, I get a positive outfielder as far as defensive run saves, as far as OA that can hit between 35 and 40 home runs. Like, where can I sign up for that? Like, that seems like exactly what the White Sox need.
Is he the only? Is he the? If he's your number 1 and we can't get him?
Yeah.
You saying that go for Kepler, right? That's the next one.
Obviously, ideal in a perfect situation. I'd love to have both. I'd love to just swing Mitch around to left field and let Kepler, roam. Because another hole the White Sox
play center too.
Yeah, that's a hole. You're reading my mind. We're on the same page here. The White Sox have a hole right now because it's Luis Robert only for center field. So you got to find somebody that can give him days off, take some time. And the White Sox, too, with as much money they have invested in Robert and stuff, they're probably going to want to maybe give him possibly some right field work or some more days off or whatever the case may be, just for like the futures down the deal. So
he was asking which guy was the number 1. It was Mitch Haniger, right?
If you're talking about a perfect fit for the White Sox, smaller ballpark, like I said, positive right fielder and OA, positive defensive run saves that can hit between 30 and 40 home runs for the White Sox all day.
Right. Gonzo is saying Mitch, Brantley, and Torres. Is that even possible?
2 of the 3. Brantley, there is 0% chance we will see a Brantley on the White Sox. Unathletic, DH only, left-handed, can't play the outfield. You're never going to see Mitch. Brantley. You got a better chance of just putting sheets out there. Like, you're never paying for Brantley. It's not possible. But Torres and Mitch are both definitely possible.
Braggs is saying we should just call it Comiskey. Just keep it simple.
I almost did too.
That's what it is. But I saw you struggling. You agreed to call it.
I want to call it the cell. I was going to call it cell. I was going to call a lot of things. But
there's some weirdos out there that. Yeah, there's some weirdos out there that call it the G spot. Like that's just.
I can't do that. I can't do that. Okay. Yeah, and Justin brings up a great point here, and here's a guy that I do see as a possible cheap fit, and that's Adam Duvall, played for the Braves. He ended up having only half a season last year because he had wrist surgery, but you talk about a 1 year, I think Spotrac got him on a 1 year, $7 million deal. You could probably easily get a club option on that. He can play center field. He's actually, even though he's 36 years old, I believe he's a positive value center fielder. Another guy that can hit between 30 and 40 home runs. Like power. Where can we find power? Who can hit the ball? Who can drive the ball? Who can hit the ball hard? Like, if you want to know what GMs are after, you heard Seattle's GM when they traded for Hernandez from Toronto. You know what his direct words were? Why you got him? Because he hits the ball hard. That's what they're all after. That's what they're all after.
Yeah, Gonzo is saying that Brantley brings a championship leadership that we need.
That's cool. He can run the Boy Scout team when he retires or something. He can be our third base coach. You will not. There's no chance you're going to see Brantley on the White Sox.
Okay, so real quick, the other name that was out there, and they're saying maybe we can swing somebody or swing somebody over to second base is Xander Bogaerts. Any chance Xander gets a look?
I just don't. First of all, TA is a better defender than Xander, so I would have a really hard time possibly ever telling TA he's moving for Xander. I know that everybody's going to say he's a shortstop, and it absolutely amazes me that we have Xander all of a sudden in his free agent year can finally play shortstop for 1 year. Like, let's do it. It's fun, right? Like, let's just pull up Xander's OAA as a shortstop. And all of a sudden, his free agent year, the guy is a positive for the first time ever almost. Here is Xander Bogaerts' OAA as a shortstop from 2018 on. 25 percentile, low. 4 percentile, 13 percentile, 1 percentile, which means you're absolutely the worst. And all of a sudden this year, it's his free agent year, and he's an 88. Like,
get out.
So, I mean, like,
holy shit.
So that's why I do think it's important to pay attention to some guys this year if you're looking for bounce back years in Gio, in Yaz. Some of these guys playing for possibly a contract or playing for something next year. Sometimes these players just get better when the money's on the line for the following year. So he went from 25, 4, 13, 1 to 88.
From 1 to 88. I mean, that is a 222% increase. Good God.
Yeah.
The other thing that I was thinking about as far as when we're talking about these trades and bringing people in or whatever, the culture hasn't been set. Like, I think that's maybe kind of where Gonzo's kind of going with the idea of bringing veterans in that have championship caliber experience or whatever, because there is no. Yeah. we really don't know what Griffall is going to be looking for in players, do we? I know he doesn't.
He's came out already, right? He said a little bit. He said plate discipline from pitchers and from hitters. He was going to control both sides of the plate. He was looking for athletic guys that are taking the extra base, running the things, doing the things. So, that's a little bit probably what he's looking for. But let's just talk from an organizational standpoint first, and why Brantley doesn't make any sense. It'd be a 1 year deal. We already went over to how that's just not a good thing for the club. It's not a good thing for the players. It's not a good thing for anybody. So the White Sox have no depth in the minors that's ready. Colas is the closest thing that's ready. And we have 2.5 holes. We have a left field hole, a right field hole, and somebody's got to back up Robert in center. So, when you're talking about Mitch, you're talking about multi-year. When you're talking about Kepler, you're talking about 2 years. So if you're trying to look and you're trying to do what you think makes sense for the White Sox to do in the outfield, give up on the Gallo, Bellinger stuff because it's 1 year deals. Look for somebody that has multiple years control or somebody they can possibly sign for multiple years. Then if Colas does do well, or if he still is on the team, he doesn't get traded, or whatever, then he can roll up and that guy can swing around the left field, or maybe Colas ends up being a left fielder in the big leagues. There's lots to still be determined down there on that thing. I mean, I know he's got a big time arm and some of that stuff, but that's where That's where you got to look. You got to look who's got good contract value. I know people don't want to hear that. They just want to I like this guy. He's a good player. What if Bellinger is the MVP? Or what if Gallo turns into a 4-year home run guy or whatever? He has no contract value. They wouldn't want to play here anyway because they need to guarantee the bat. So it's who has value that can continue to keep the organization going forward for multiple years, multiple deals. That's where you got to look.
Right. Okay, so what do we do with Yoan Moncada?
Oh boy. I've heard.
I just need this question asked because I know Mac is going to see this and he's going to be like, "Y'all didn't talk about Yoan. What the fuck?"
Yeah. I mean, so right now his trade value is negative 12.8. So to give you an idea of what that truly means is, you would have to pay somebody $13 million. Let's just round up $13 million of the $48 million to just take him.
Wow,
and that's what that means.
That's the money you got to add on.
You got to. So if you're going to put him on a plane, you have to attach $13 million in a suitcase with him on his back. So wherever he's going, they get that money to get rid of it. So there's 3 ways you can get rid of a bad contract. You can attach money to it, which we just talked about. You can do a bad contract swap. Like I'll give you one that was rumored that I saw or whatever was Yoan Moncada to the Mets for McCann, old White Sox catcher.
Right.
Because that's a bad contract swap type situation. Or you can add prospects to him in order to equal out that value and ship him off. Those are the 3 ways. The bad thing, if Yoan was on a Yaz type deal, 1 year 17, 1 year 18, I think he's making 17 this year. That's not the end of the world. The problem is, if we get the same Yoan Moncada we saw last year, he's owed 17 this year and basically 31 next year. Okay. So you're making a $48 million gamble that somehow he cannot be terrible. So they'll be trying to move. Every GM is going to try to move every negative contract they have. They need value. They need pieces. This is a business. It's not friends. It's not this. It's not that. Their job is to collect assets, and those are the players. And that's what they need to do. And they need to try to move around different types of assets for positive value and positive situations, positive farm systems, so you can make these moves when it comes time to compete, or whatever. So, yeah, with him making $24 million flat next year and 31 million total, he'll be making 13% of the entire team's payroll. They ain't going to want to have that on for a guy that's slugging 300, 350, or whatever. And they're just not going to want to keep it if they can. But who else? How can you get rid of it too is a question.
Yeah. The other thing is, does Rendon and Moncada, are those 2 bad contract swaps? Would that work?
Yeah, White Sox would get a lot back. I mean, Rendon's value has got to be super negative. I wouldn't be surprised if it's not 100 negative. I could tell you really quick here.
Rendon.
But he plays for the Angels.
When was the last time we saw him play? I don't think.
They did something real sneaky at the end of last year. It's kind of funny. They activated him for 6 games because he had a 3-game suspension to send for coming off the bench in that bench clearing brawl, and he did play a little bit or whatever. But yeah, Rendon's value on our buddy's side is negative 132.3.
What? That's on John's site right now.
Yeah, negative 132.3 is his contract value.
That's terrible.
I didn't think anybody could be 10 times worse than Moncada, but we found one.
10 times worse. That's crazy.
And value-wise, 10 times worse. A little bit.
So
more.
we got Burger sitting there. What are we doing with Jake Burger?
Yeah, I mean. And I know you're going to see a lot of people talk about trading Burger, talk about trading Sheets or whatever. You just don't trade powerful, cheap pieces. You just don't. They're just going to be around. They're going to be hanging, especially when they have options still. They're going to be hanging around the organization. They're going to need to fill in. They're going to need to do stuff. So, if something goes down, they're there. Obviously Burger will probably be, he'll be on the Martin plan from last year, up and down from Charlotte, whatever. I don't think he makes a 26-man this year from the way things look, barring some trades and stuff. But he can play some DH. He can play third if Makata gets hurt, whatever the case, ideally Sheets will probably make the 26-man just because of his flexibility. He can play some left, play some right, play some first, play some DH. So the idea is like Sheets as a starter, not the best thing, right? Even though I will say for all the Sheets haters last year, as of like June 23rd, his comeback, he was top 20 in the AL on OPS and in slugging in the American League. So like the kid can hit. I mean, he can slug. So like, but you don't want him out there every day. But man, is he sure nice to have him as a sub, to have him coming off the bench to give guys days off instead of going to like a Garcia or an Engel or somebody else. It's kind of nice to have Sheets given a day off versus some of them other deals. So that's what we got to do, is a little more depth across the deal there. So I can't see them move. They don't have any trade value because, like we talked about, their clock has started. They don't have a ton of trade value. Maybe they're an add-on piece, whatever the case. But for the most part, I can't see them getting moved. And as bad as the White Sox were in slugging last year, why are you possibly going to move two guys that can slug? I mean, I think Berger might have finished top 10 or 12 in the team in home runs, and he didn't even play.
Yeah, he did, actually. That's not even a guess. He did. Yeah. I mean, that's just a fact. Are there any bad contracts out there you think that are plausible to our needs, is what Gonzo is asking?
Yeah, so three I can think of when looking around trying to ship out Makata's contract. Jorge Soler, that plays for Miami.
Used to be a Royal, right?
Used to be a Royal, right? So knows Grafal, right?
Yep.
Power hitting outfielder, right? So he's in a negative deal down there in Miami.
Okay.
And I think Makata lives in Miami, so let's just send him home, right? Let's just
do it. I mean, he gets more flamingo shirts down there than he would here.
Exactly. More dance clubs, all that kind of stuff. So it'd be great. So that's one I could see. Two could be the McCann thing that we just talked about, possibly like we talk about rule changes. One thing that's going to matter this year, defensive second base and defensive catcher is going to start playing a premium. There's three new rule changes there at the catcher spot too, right? Because now that you can't shift, being able to throw runners out at second, it's not as easy as it used to be. Because now, like, there's not somebody just standing right behind second base on a left-handed hitter. Like, somebody's got to get and cover the bag, and somebody's got to be around. Like, they just can't hang around the bag. You can't, because otherwise you're going to be out of position. Number two is the pitch clock is coming this year. So you have to, pitcher's got 15 seconds with nobody on base and 20 seconds with somebody on. The third rule it's going to change is the pickoff rule. You can only throw over to first twice. If you throw over there a third time and you don't get him, the guy gets to automatically go to second. It's basically like a balk.
That's a terrible. I don't like.
So that's going to encourage base stealing. It's going to encourage running. It's going to return some of that stuff. So like that's why I think you might see a little more premium on the defensive catcher side. The third one is there's a left-handed. Even though I don't think the Sox are going to go this route now that they got Clevenger, but there's a left-handed pitcher for the Seattle Mariners that have Gonzalez. It was his name. That has a similar bad contract like Moncada does, and I could see Suarez, who's not the strongest third baseman, being moved to the DH role. So that's three I could think of on the top of my head when I've tried to possibly
get him out of here.
Try to get him out of here. That's probably the three leading candidates.
Hey James, I just want to let James know that I think that the comment section is letting you know that Andrew Vine already replaced Abreu production last year. What do you think, Eric?
White Sox have to find a way to replace Abreu's value. Though he didn't slug, he was still probably the most consistent. Yeah, no, for sure. And let's talk about – there's a Carlos – I wish I would have thought about this. We could probably link stuff, or maybe Bryce can help us later. But
we will.
I wish we could have linked that. Yeah. I wish we could have linked that Carlos Correa video that he was on during the playoffs, right? Mm-hmm. He talked about how players get paid and what players look at. He talked about WOBA. He talked about OPS plus. He talked about WRC plus. Abreu completely reinvented himself last year because he's going to be a free agent,
and he wanted that money.
So like all of a sudden, like all those categories were almost career highs for him.
Yep, they all went up.
Yeah, and guess what happened? He got paid. Getting a 3-year, almost $60 million deal is good for him. So like, Yeah. So when I look at trying to replace Jose's production, the question is going to be is who are you putting in left or right field, and how much more value do you get there? Because Vaughn's going to out hit or be right with Abreu, stat for stat wise.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is, you can say we could have kept them both. Like you could have played Vaughn in the outfield. And for everybody that says he can't play outfield, he can't play outfield, I got bad news for you. The Philadelphia Phillies had a worse outfield defensive run saves than the White Sox did, and so did the Atlanta Braves.
Mm-hmm.
And both of them, one won 100 games, and the other one was in the World Series. So the defensive run stuff is a little bit overblown. To give you an idea, Andrew Vaughn was the worst left fielder. I ran the stats and did the numbers. It costs you 1 out every 3.77 games. So it's not like it's the end of the world to be an average versus being the last. So, yes, it's an important, of course, but it's not. They're never going to trade. The idea of having an Ozzie Smith type player anymore, that stuff's gone. You're sacrificing defense for offense always, 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 always. So who can the White Sox get in the outfield? So if you would have had Jose and Vaughn, who can they get in the outfield that would be Vaughn and who? That's how you're going to have to compare it, right? When you look at the deal, it's like, who can we possibly get on that deal? But I think Jose, as much as I know he was loved or whatever, but Ray, my feelings. I don't.
Yeah, you don't love players.
Yeah.
You don't love players. You look at value.
It don't matter to me, right? He's not 18, 19 times as more valuable than Andrew Vaughn. He just ain't. Right. There's no way around it. He just isn't. And
James says that Vaughn had a 113 WRC and Abreu had a 137.
Yep.
But like you said, Abreu, it went
that
up.
That was career highs. I believe I think it was career highs for Abreu right there. Maybe his rookie year was better. I'd have to pull it up, and maybe James can look at it for me. But I think 137 might have been Jose's career high on the deal or whatever. But you also got to remember that Jose played more games too. So when we talk about WRC plus, a lot of that stuff factors in. You have to break it down per game. We're going to come find out it's not actually that much different between the 113 and probably 137. But Jose did completely reinvent himself. Walk rate was the highest. Strikeout rate was the lowest. Batting average was the highest. Like, he changed his game because he knows what front officers are looking for, and this is exactly what they're looking for. So
just just to satisfy a good friend of ours, Greg Braggs. Are the Cubs going to get Bogarts or are they going to get Talion from the Yankees? Are you hearing anything as far as the outfield for the Cubs?
I haven't heard any outfielders other than early. I heard they might have been the Cody Bellinger market, which would make a lot of sense for the Cubs. Like, the Cubs make sense for one of these. The guys that I said don't make sense for the White Sox. It makes a lot of sense for the Cubs.
And why is that? Because of the salary situation?
Not necessarily the salary. It's kind of where the Cubs are. The Cubs won't be a favorite to win a Central, right? They're kind of on the outside looking in. They're going to be still a year or two from competing in that division. So you take a flyer on a Bellinger or a Gallo type player, and if he blows up and your team overshoots expectations, you hold on to him and you run with it. If you come in a little flat, the best way to raise your organization is by trading. So you swap him at the deadline if he's having a good year, get some more prospects to add to that farm with him, other good young kids they have coming up, and you move them. So, like, with the White Sox, who are going to be, just because the AL Central is not a powerhouse division, they're going to be in a division race all year long. I mean, they played terrible last year, and they were 2 games back in dang August, that last series with Cleveland. So they're going to be in the race all year long. So they won't be looking to possibly ever flip or trade players. So that's why it makes more sense for like a Cubs or a Seattle or a Rangers, maybe even the Rockies.
Right. Somebody
that's on the fringe of, if my young kids overachieve, I can really use this guy to help push over the edge. Or if I flatline here a little bit, I flip him and I get more young kids to add to my young kids. Like, that's and somewhere like the Cubs could promise him the at-bats too, or whatever. So they could be like, yeah, I'll give you the at-bats.
Okay.
Where the White Sox aren't going to have that luxury. We can't be like, here's 550 bats, Gallo, go hit 133. Like, we can't possibly do that.
So are they going to, what about Bogart.
Oh, back to the shortstop thing. I will say that the Cubs probably end up with Swanson, if anybody. From Atlanta.
Swanson. Oh, right. We talked about Swanson before, as maybe a fringe Sox, move to second type thing, right? Was that what we were talking about?
I think Swanson probably ends up in a Cubs uniform. It could be Xander though too, but I think it's one of those two.
Yeah.
I think Correa's got to go to the Dodgers now, right? And Turner went to Philly.
Right. Yeah, he went to Philly. Yeah.
I would guess Correa ends up in the Dodgers. I mean, I don't know for sure, but they seem to pay everybody else. So why not just add another $300 million contract on? I mean, when you're spending that much money, I heard Seattle's in the market for a shortstop as well. So, and so are the Angels, I guess. I think those three teams end up with two of those, or those four teams end up with three of those guys. I just don't know the exact order, of course.
And then what's the other big names that's out there that where you think they're going to possibly with the winter meetings? It's time for you to just throw on your, let's do the Schwarmy. Remember what was that? What was it, the Schwarmy when he put the little you dig on his?
Oh yeah, Schwarmy. Yeah.
Put that on for me, and let's just talk about some of the guys that have not been scooped up. Trey Turner going to the Mets. That's already done. And then we had no. Trey Turner went to the Phillies.
Yeah.
Verlander went to the Mets.
So we've already had some big pieces fall, right? DeGrom went to the Rangers.
Right. Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Let's go Carlos Rodon. Like I know his market's going to heat up. I've heard everything from the Yankees, even though the Yankees crack me up. The Yankees are going to get everybody if you just ask them. They're going to re-sign Judge. They're going to get Trey Turner and Carlos Correa, and they're going to get Brian Reynolds, and they're going to get Rodon. Like, this isn't 1990 something anymore. Like, people have spending limits.
That reminds me. Remind me to go back to when we was talking about the contract thing. Remember I was telling you I wanted to talk about that?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll get you at the end. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think Rodon, obviously you've heard Yankees, you've heard Dodgers, I think he might end up in Texas. I think Texas is trying to buy themselves a championship, basically. Last year they went out and got Seager and Simeon. They know they're short. They got DeGrom. They just got the new stadium. Like, they're selling suites out, or whatever. Like, and the one thing you guys that I know a lot of people don't think about, there's no state income tax in Texas.
And they dangle that like a carrot.
100%. 100%. Like, you don't think
taxes.
Yeah, you don't think Jose ended up there, or whatever in Tampa, like, or ended up in Houston, no income tax, warmer weather, like some of that stuff plays into it. A competitive team, of course it plays into it. I think Correa goes to the Dodgers. I'll say the Cubs do get Xander, and I'll put Swanson in Seattle. I think maybe possibly along those moves.
Okay.
I think Judge goes back to Yankees. I can't see anybody doing anything different. I do think the Giants are going to panic and buy up some people. I just don't know who or what, but I think the Giants might be in the source of the market too. What's that?
Where's Contreras going?
Sounds like Houston. So it sounds
no way. No, I'm not doing it. No, we're not doing this, Eric. We're not.
I'll give you another one. I mean, I've heard St. Louis. I've heard St. Louis, but it sounds like
let me just put this in perspective, right? So the Houston Astros, who just won the World Series, they come to Chicago and pull Jose Abreu and Wilson Contreras from the north and the south side. That would just blow my mind.
It sounds like
Eric is going to lose his shit just now. He's going to lose his shit.
It sounds like that sounds like that's where I know they're meeting with him this week. Let's just put it that way. That's been reported that he's meeting him. So,
wow. Is Chris Bassett? Where's he headed?
Oh boy, good one. I can see that. I could see that being the Giants' panic sign if they don't hold on to Rodon. I could definitely see him out there. I know the Mets are interested in keeping him again, but I think those, if you get out of the elite, I think you'll see the Giants scoop up 2 or 3 of that next tier, and I put Bassett in that next tier, along with Talian, along with
Evaldi,
Duvalde, some of them guys, and I think you'll see the Giants kind of. They're a few players away, and they got the money to spend. So I think instead of getting like a Judge, I think I see them plucking like 2 or 3 from that upper middle or whatever you want to say there, tier of free agencies.
Did Thor sign already?
No, Syndergaard hasn't signed yet. I don't know where he could end up. Starting pitching obviously is getting paid, right? I mean, you've seen it already.
Yeah.
Like, if anybody doubts what's the most important, valuable thing to a baseball club, just watch how the winter meetings go. Who's signed for the most part? Starting pitchers and relief pitching. That's been it. I mean, other than Trey Turner today, right? Like, you don't see
Diaz,
a ton. Like,
what was Diaz contract as a reliever?
Yeah. It's crazy, right? Insane. 5 years, $30 million a year, something like 150-ish, right? Like,
that's stupid.
Yeah, and we've seen several other relievers come off. So, like, pitching is the most important thing. So, like, anybody out there, the White Sox are like, trade Gio. You can't trade Gio. We're going to trade from the bullpen. They're not trading from the bullpen. Like, there could be an exception. Like, maybe we don't know. There's stuff we don't know. Like, right? We don't know. Maybe everybody hates a certain guy or a certain guy's a cancer in the clubhouse. There's no way for us to know that. But on paper and value-wise, which is what we're trying to bring here, whatever, it makes absolutely zero sense for the White Sox to trade from the bullpen or from the starting rotation. Like,
what about Nemo?
I think he has to stay with the Mets. The Mets got an aging outfield with Marte on the side or whatever already.
Marte's the center fielder, right?
Yeah, so I think they're going to want to. Here we go. Maybe. Oh, maybe not. Sid Xander Bogarts market's heating up. I thought maybe we were going to have news. Yeah. So I think they're going to want to take pressure off there. They already, like, earlier in the chat, I put number one bet I'll be making this year. By the way, 3 for 3 last year on season totals. Will be under on the Mets. You going to tell me you're going to try to keep 40-year-old Verlander and Scherzer healthy for an entire year?
Right.
Like,
right.
They're not going to. They're going to be able to make all their starts with an aging Marte as well. Like,
they're not right.
Like, man,
I get you. That's a flip a coin and a wishing wheel right there.
Yeah, and all you got to do is have one guy miss a month or one guy miss 6 weeks, and that season total is going to go under. So, like, I think Nemo ends up back in New York. I think he ends up back with the Mets just because young, athletic, takes pressure off of Marte. Makes a lot of sense.
Is Wainwright retiring?
No, he's back. This is his last year.
So he
already signed with the Cardinals and already announced that this was going to be it.
I didn't hear that.
I mean, I'm 90% sure. But
and then I'm just throwing a couple of names out there that I know that, like, we've talked about in the spaces and in the chat and all that good stuff. Trey Mancini. Trey Mancini.
Cardinals re-signed Wainwright to a one more year deal. Yep. Man, I don't know. First base, can he even play out right field anymore? Who's looking in the first base market? You'd have to do a little bit of diving there. Who lost out maybe on the Rizzo situation? Mm-hmm. I mean, he could be a Cub. Cub could use a first baseman. He could be a Cub. So you'd have to dive a little deeper there on who could possibly need a first baseman for the Mancini market. But, I mean, again, that's going to be another 1 year. Well, here, I can just tell you what Spot Rock has it at. But I would guess, 1 year, 8 type deal, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I can tell you what they have, but on here. But we'll have to see here. MLB free agents. Free agents. First base. I'm guessing they got him listed at first base, right? I don't think he's in anymore.
Right. He played first base. Yeah,
I'm guessing they got listed at first base, right? Trey Mancini. I got him a little higher than I thought. Looks like, it could be multiple years. Let's give the exact deal before I spout off here. They have him at age 30. They actually have him on here, and this shocked me. They're going to talk about giving him 5 years and $90 million. I can't see that.
Whoa. So that's all sports.
The spot rack site. Yours is pretty good on calculating market value. They got him down at 5 years, $90.5 million. Seems like a lot.
Damn. What about Profar? He's a utility guy from
Padres. Sure. So like, he somewhere that's a contender, someone that needs he could fit in the White Sox. I mean, 100%. That he could
take the Leury spot.
Yeah, he could. Somebody.
He could be the new Leury legend.
Somebody that needs that supporting guy that can play some outfield, some positive at-bats, postseason experience. So look for a contender there. Maybe the Yankees if they don't end up with Benintendi. Maybe somebody like that. But he'll end up on a contending club.
And the one name that we failed to mention that the White Sox Twitter loves, and they've been loving him for God knows how long, is Conforto.
Yeah. A couple of problems there. I can't imagine. He was declining going on a Savant page, and you look year after year, especially if you go down to the bracket on average exit velocity, max velocity, barrel rates, just been declining since 2019 anyway. And then he sits out a complete year and his shoulder goes out. I just can't see the White Sox ever possibly making that move. It just isn't. I hated it. I hated it when it came up last year, and you can tell by my page. I've never understood it, or whatever. I've never understood it. And you got to remember, you can say whatever you want. The ball is not as lively as it was, and he was already declining. Now he's got a hurt shoulder too. And let's not forget, he's a Boras client too. And Jerry and the White Sox do not like to deal with the Boras. They just don't. So whatever happened along those deals, we'll see. But I don't think you see any of those guys. I don't think you see that group that you're going to hear a lot of people talk about. Bellinger, Gallo, Benintendi, Brantley, Conforto. I don't think any of those guys are even on the White Sox right now. They don't make sense contractually, and they don't make sense for the team. Because I'm looking for multiple years of an athletic right fielder that can possibly play some center field. And I got him under control for 2 or 3 years. That's what I'm looking for.
What position does Josh Bell play?
First base.
Damn. Okay. All right. Well, man, I just think we've run the gamut. We're in the winter meeting mode. We're in the.
I was hoping maybe something would break while we were on, but I haven't seen much.
I was hoping something would break too. Yeah. Yeah, Gonzo, people are just saying names that he's saying that he should even be a discussion piece.
Yeah. I mean, I 1,000% agree. I just can't imagine taking that deal and taking that gamble. Yeah,
that's just too much. He shouldn't even be. But like I said, he's there. He's there.
Everybody's in love with got to have a left-handed, need some left-handed, need some left-handed, need some left-handed, need some left-handed. There's a great article. I'll share it on my page. There's a great article talking about how Dave Roberts, who's old school baseball, he asked him about pinch hitting. How come he didn't go to the lefty? And he talks about swing path. Well, against this guy's fastball, I wanted the swing path of this guy versus this guy. I'm like, that's what it is anymore. And ain't just go grab your left-hander. This ain't your grandpa's baseball anymore.
Right.
It's just not. They don't care. Toronto had no left-handers in their lineup last year. They ended up trading. They had one that they traded away this year, cut. White Sox got 5 starting right-handed pitchers by choice.
By choice,
They could have went and got Anderson. They could have went and got Manea. They could have went and got whatever. By choice, they went and got another right-handed hitter. It doesn't matter anymore in the game of baseball. Who is dangerous? Who has analytical elite stuff that can possibly make a difference? You want strikeout stuff for a pitcher. You want home run hitting, hard hitting players on the offense. That's it.
I got 2 more questions for you, and then we're gonna get up out of here.
All right, come on.
Are we going to see a team that is going to slug next year? Does Grandal come back and slug? He was a disappointment. He's that first year he got here, he did what we asked him to do, right?
I mean, the first 3 years, he was, whatever. it would be almost impossible to say that Grandal don't bounce back because he was that bad. Like, I mean, he obviously, I think
it's nowhere to go but up from here.
Yeah, I mean, I think somebody would have to look, but I'll just go ahead and go with it because I think that I'm right. Since 2014, I think his lowest OPS was 756 before last year. So I know he's aging. I know some stuff's going, but like when you're talking about the man is going to have a 350 on base percentage just because of his eye. He's going to walk. There's just no way around it. Can he get back to hitting 220? Can he slug 400 to get back to that 750? I personally, as a gambler and as a deal, never bet against a guy that's playing to see if he can get a contract next year. We just talked about what Xander Bogaerts all of a sudden did with his glove. He's playing. This will be it for him. If he comes back and puts up this year, he's going to Japan or he's done or something. Right. So he's got to produce this year or he ain't going to have a contract next year. So, I mean, I think for sure, I mean, he has to bounce back, right? I mean, he can't be any worse. And you could say that for several of the White Sox players.
So does Robert slug this year, in your opinion?
I think the manager hire had a lot to do with Luis Robert, to be honest with you. I think
well, that makes me happy.
I think if you go read the article that James, is it Fagan?
Yeah,
Fagan for The Athletic just wrote about that I share with you about how they're going to game plan and how they're going to attack the plate and the chase rate and all that kind of stuff or whatever. Like the White, you won't see the free swing and chase rate stuff anymore. They're game planning. You're going to take pitchers away from pitchers like you're supposed to. They're going to, Rick Hahn interrupted one of Grafal's deals to say you won't see what you saw last year. Like we're going to game plan. We're going to be more prepared. We're going to be a better team. So I think the managerial hire had a lot to do with Luis Robert
because he's just a 5-tool player that just hasn't really brought it all together.
He has not, and I think, to be honest with you, I think it's lack of coaching, and I think it's some of you can put on the player, of course, but I mean we all know what do we love? We love Paul Robert. Last thing I want to see is those damn one-handed duck snorts in the right field. Right. I don't care. I want to see that shot you hit in Oakland against the playoffs. I want you to burn and turn on the ball, kid. But wait till they make a mistake and go get it. Right. Go hit that hanger. Quit trying to hit that nice slider that's off the 3 inches off the outside plate that you're one-handed. Just take that one. Take that one.
Just take it. Yeah.
And then you strike with your hat. Like, I think the managerial hire has a lot to do with, and Hahn said it, getting the talent out of the players that we have.
And Eloy too. Eloy, he needs to slug. He needs to slug. I mean, he started to toward the end of the year, but it was just a little too late because he was hurt.
Well, let's talk about that a little bit. So, I know people are frustrated, and I get it. Everybody blames general managers like they blame offensive coordinators. It's crazy, right? But last year was really the first setback in what was been the rebuild process, right? And it was, they weren't supposed to do a lot in 2020, kind of a surprise year. Last year, or in 21, they weren't even favorites to win the division. Won it by a landslide. 22, now the pressure came. We talked about this a lot on our spaces and stuff. Pressure came. Choked, honestly. Played terrible. But I also think the White Sox got away from their identity last year. So that's why I'm so interested in their front office moves. Going to sign Josh Harrison and going to get Reese McGuire is the opposite of what this team was meant to do. This team was meant to slug. This team was supposed to be able to out-hit teams. They weren't supposed to be the best base running team, the best fielding team, the best stuff. They were supposed to out-slug and out-hit teams. And then going to get those two guys, I feel like he tried – I think it was a sideways step and a bad move by Hahn. I think they tried to put some Band-Aids on some stuff. Well, let's go get a little defensive catcher. Let's go get Harrison. Let's do this stuff or whatever. And then they try to Band-Aid it, and then it don't work because all of a sudden somebody gets hurt. You got to play this guy, and they have no power. They have no pop. I got away from what our identity had been in the past. Excuse me. What else you got, Ray?
And then the last thing, I saw you got into a little back and forth about the Jerry Reinsdorf and net worth when it comes to contracts
I think what people forget. I think people just forget. Baseball's a business. It's what it is, right?
Okay.
Net worth is not cash flow. Net worth is not He's not running the White Sox to lose money every year. Like no GM is running the team or owners running the team to lose money. Who runs a business to lose money? Nobody does.
No.
Nobody can't.
Mm-mm.
So like people are like, look how much net worth. How come we can't have one of these players? Like net worth has nothing to do with cash flow. You can own a whole bunch of property. You can own a business. You can own stuff, whatever the case is. Like that's fine. But net worth has nothing to do with the deal. And the Jerry Reindorf is cheap thing is one of the worst takes that anybody could possibly have. I wish I had it right in front of me, and maybe I do if I dig here a second. But
well, he was saying that he hadn't mentioned that. He was saying he was talking about something about the percentage or something.
No, I understand he was.
Yeah.
And like I said, it wasn't a dig at him, but I have seen in the past
people talk about it. Yeah, for sure. Because they say he doesn't spend money. He's cheap.
I almost didn't tag him, but he had such a good point there in the article. I kind of wanted to share it anyway. Like it really didn't have much to do with him. But you know, the White Sox, when they could win in the 05, 06, 07 Kenny Williams era, like we're 4, 5, 6, 8, 7 in payroll. You know, whatever. Last year was the first year the White Sox were really threatening to win. They were 7th in payroll. Like when the White Sox can win, Jerry spends. If you can't win and you're an owner, why would you spend anyway? It's a business. It's a business first. And I know people don't like it, but it's a business. Jose is gone because of business. You don't pay an aging first baseman $20 million a year for 3 years when you have Andrew Vaughn as replacement for $750,000. Jose is not 20 times better than Andrew Vaughn. He's just not. It's a business. These are just pieces, you know, or whatever the case. So, no, that was it. Like, you know, he's worth so much money. He should spend money. He should do stuff. It's a business. Now, they're trying to break even, right? They're not trying to use it as giant cash flow. They want to reinvest back in the company and the deal, but no business is sustainable losing cash every single year. It's not why you run a business.
You're going to lose your business. You do that.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
Yeah.
That net worth will go down if you're running a poor product, right? I mean, exactly. Here. I think I found it. My buddy Junior's chat. So 2006, the White Sox were 5th. 7, they were 5th. 8, they were 5th. 9, they were 11th. 10, they were 9. 11, 2011, they were 7. 12, 11. Then the rebuild started. 23, 15, 16, 23, 29, 26. But then now they're back up to 7. So like when they're in their window, he'll spend. If they can win,
he's going to pay money.
Spend.
Yeah.
You saw him pay Zach LaVine because he thought the Bulls could win this year. I know it's a sort of subject right now among everybody, but like,
okay, it's all right.
He spent. He spent. You know what I mean? He spent.
But then, but the thing is, during that Zach LaVine thing, the Bulls have never paid somebody, blah, 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 and then he does it. Just like now, they're saying Jerry Reindorf has never given out $100 million contract for White Sox.
Yeah.
If it was an opportunity for him to do it,
yeah, listen, he paid. I know people don't want. I know people hate it and they don't want to count it. But Jose Abreu made more than $1 million with the White Sox.
Yeah, he did.
Luis Roberts on the books to make more than $100 million with the White Sox. Like, I know it's not technically your contract that you signed, but Luis Roberts got a $26 million signing bonus. Kid had never even played and got $26 million signing bonus, and he's got 2 options for 20 some million on the back end. So his deal is well over 100 million. And so was Jose's pretty over 100 million. So, I mean.
Mm-hmm. So this says, I would argue about retained earnings from the rebuild years. We'll never know the P&L, but I always wonder if they generated income in those years.
Yeah, I mean, they could have, or whatever, but I'm also sure they took losses in, when they were in the 5th and the 7th and stuff too. I mean, we're never going to see them, right? But ideally, you just got to remember, it's a business first. It's just what it is. And I know everybody's like, Chicago's a big market, Chicago's a big city, Chicago's this, Chicago's that. I also have bad news. We're the second team in the city. And always going to be the second team, unfortunately.
Unfortunately. And, no one goes to that dump except for, people who truly, truly love that team on the north side. But I would never step foot in there. Right. I'm up there with it. So this was fun. It seems like we got into a little bit of a groove.
Yeah.
Now we just got to fine tune the whole YouTube experience, so on and so forth, and get that going and try to understand why the hell, it wasn't properly set up before how I set it up. And I'm just going to, call customer service and just say, hey man, what the hell? But anyway.
Exactly. But We got winter meetings for the next 2 days. I'll
Yeah,
tell you one last thing too. We'll leave them with is, I believe it's next Tuesday. Could be Monday, but they're going to do the first ever lottery, and the White Sox will be in the lottery.
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
draft pick, whatever.
Yeah. So when do they put? When is the balls are being put into the machine and on Tuesday?
Yep.
And so we should know if the White Sox will be able to get
next Tuesday. And what they're going to do is the top 6 spots will be a random draw. Then after that, they're going to fill it out by record.
The number. Right.
So the White Sox either get like 1 through 6, or they're going to have like 16 through 18, I believe. Or whatever, depending on who gets put above them or whatever. But that'll be fun. But yeah, I think the White Sox, like I said, sounds like they signed somebody according to Junior, Ozzie Guillen Jr. So like maybe we'll hear that later today. And this was fun. I enjoyed it.
Okay. That is it, man. This was fun.
Thanks everybody for jumping on. I did enjoy it. I did enjoy it. A little nervous at first, but definitely enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's the first Juke Joint YouTube live broadcast. I mean, we've been waiting to pop this cherry for a minute.
Yep.
And it's finally done. So, you guys will be seeing us a lot more on YouTube. And once we figure out how we do all this kind of stuff, blah, 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 it's going to get even better. We're just going to start over here. And thank you, Greg. Greg says we were solid. And we're just going to keep it moving. And I think that we're going to have a lot more fun conversations, a lot more educational conversations, especially when we're doing Eric's room like we're doing today. And we have, Bulls coverage, Bears coverage. Just us talking, me, you, and Elise when she's available. And we're all 3 available at the same time. It's just hard sometimes having a team, and we're putting content together and trying to find it in our spare time outside of our personal lives. So I love it.
Follow on Twitter. You see the names below.
Follow everybody on Twitter.
DMs too. I probably get anywhere between 10 or 15 a day asking me about what I think the White Sox going to do, or how about this player, what about that player, or whatever. So like, I'm more than happy to interact.
Hey, shout out to the scumbags for coming in to the group chat today, coming into the chat room. Shout out to all the viewers that watched us today. It's only going to get better from here. And I appreciate you guys so damn much. But last call was like 10 minutes ago. And we're going to get up out of here.
Yeah, Ray, we did it. One in the books.
We did. One in the books. Turn the lights off in this biatch.